Ray, it is always a pleasure. It's been far too long, and you always come up with some kind of surprise song that you do. Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoats, I love it. And I think last time we were together, you played a Monty Python song, Always Look on the Brighter Side of Life. And that was in my head for several days, I'm happy to say. Well, it is absolutely wonderful to be here. It's been a while as we all go through this change of merging back to the oneness of who we are. And this is all a part of it. The title of the talk today is Flowing with God. And I'm not going to presume to use the title God in there makes the assumption that I understand God in some ways. Like to say flowing with God maybe is not fully a fair title because I don't fully know God. I know God to a certain degree as I know myself to a certain degree. So for me, God and life are somewhat interchangeable. And I feel I have some things to share with you that I know are not flowing with God. And sometimes that's how I teach. And Eckhart Tolle said something a long time ago that really caught my attention. And that is, sometimes you have to let go of who you are not to discover who you are. And so, I mean, it's easy. We could say, yes, we're whole, we're one with God, we're love, we're peace. We could say all those things, but until we really know it and fully realize it as the truth of who we are, there's just a trying or an effort or a concept of what that is. But I think we all know certain things to say, I'm definitely not that. That is definitely not God. You know, when we're treating people poorly or when we're just doing something that is not in alignment with love or peace or joy, then I think we're safe to say that is not what God is about. I'm working at this place, a restaurant in Royal Oak. For a long time, I've been trying to do this thing of teaching meditation, retreats, and speaking, and I did okay with it. I think people have enjoyed me. They've asked me back, so it's been fine, but it hasn't been enough to pay the bills. And eventually, my wife said, "Get out there. You gotta bring some money in here." So I went to this restaurant in Royal Oak. And shortly after that, I ended up bringing my son back into it, into the restaurant as well. And I began to have this experience with this owner that was quite horrendous in many ways. He did all these out of integrity things. And I'm watching this as I continue to be a witness to my experiences in my life. One of the things I began to witness and find my irritation, my anger, my frustrations with is my son was working so hard, 60, 70 hours a week, and then my boss, the owner, shorted him all this money. And I'm like, and watching him work, it coming home like 2:00 at night and just putting his all in, and they would need help because they were shorthanded, and they would call on him, and he didn't have the gumption to say no. And so I found myself watching this experience, and I'm ready as Papa Bear. I'm ready to hop in, you know. And my brother's like, "Brett, that is not for you to do. He's 22. He needs to do it on his own, you know." And I was very annoyed with that comment, very annoyed. And I reminded him of, well, this isn't between you either. So what you're doing, the same thing I'm doing, you know. That was my rebuttal, but the truth is he was absolutely right. And when I hung up the phone, I really begrudgingly admitted to myself that he was right. And I talked to my wife and said, "No, this is not my game. This is his game." And so I began to be a witness to his frustration. I began to be a witness to his pain. I began to be a witness to my own pain. Because for those of you who have children, you know, like, there's certain things you can deal with, but man, when it's your child, it's a different game. Like, I was willing to tolerate and put up with a lot of stuff, but no, not with my son. And so it became this beautiful and powerful process. And I'm not ready to use the word beautiful yet. I'll say it became this powerful process. And I began to be a witness to all this pain and like noticing my thoughts like, that son of a, and I'm so angry and I want to say this and I want to do that. And it just enraged me that he was so out of integrity. And as I kept watching my thoughts and I kept moving them through, I began to find some light at the end of the tunnel. There was a space that began to open up within me. And I had this experience of saying, just as a glimpse of the possibility of what God must experience when he is a witness to all these things that we would judge as evil or bad or wrong on this planet, even that are going on this very day. How can God continue to unconditionally love every single person? Right? Every single person, even those ones that we say, oh my God, are you kidding me? This is horrible. And yet God still loves them. And I saw that as a possibility for the first time when I'm watching my son go through all of this and feeling my own stuff with it and say, can I keep my heart open for this person and still love him exactly the way he is? And it wasn't easy, but I kept sitting with the process and I would notice the thoughts like, oh, I'm angry. Can you notice that, Brett? Can you just be with that? Be present with it. Don't push it away. Don't fight it. Don't make it wrong. Can you simply be present with it? And I continued to do that until I came out of that place and I said to my wife, I said, is it crazy for me to feel so grateful for my boss right now? And then all of a sudden, my son ended up saying something and having a conversation, and he got all of his money. So many times we're looking to change things, not because we've healed them, but mainly because we don't like the situation. And look, there's nothing wrong with change, but so many times we're changing things out of our own discomfort, our own uncomfortability with a situation, wanting or needing it to be different than what it is, when God is saying, this is exactly what you need. And we see it, like I said, we see it right here today. And I'm sure I'm not alone. You know, people have different experiences when you look at something like Russia and Ukraine, everything going on. You know, Russia becomes, of course, the villain and Ukraine the victim. And it's okay. I have no judgment about where anybody is at, what your thoughts or feelings are. I'm just here to be a conscious witness to what goes on in my life. That's all. And so the more I'm able to connect with that, because there's a part of me that still has that anger and that vengeance within me, like, oh, they need to pay for this. I own that. There's something within me that hasn't fully healed that. And then I listen to my teacher online, Muji, if any of you listen to him. He's a awakened teacher who is just a gentle, loving soul. And he said, we have to forgive. We have to practice peace. That's the way out of this. And so when we talk about flowing with God, I'm going to say for me, one of the biggest things is forgiveness. It's forgiveness. And for those of you who have attended this church, you've heard me talk on forgiveness, and I always say this because to me it's one of the most powerful verses in the Bible, and also one of the most powerful verses that I've learned in life. And that is when Jesus is on the cross and he's been brutalized and just tortured tremendously. He still had the awareness, he still had the courage to say, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. And why did he say that? Because he was saying they know not what they do because they were not conscious and aware. They weren't coming from that core truth of who they are. They were coming from this idea or this concept, this ego, this opinion of who they think they are and what they think is right in the world. And we all do that, right? We all come from our opinions. There are certain opinions we have. This is the way it should be. And then God will come along and say, I don't think so. And we fight it and we struggle with it, but the truth is, and my teacher, who was an awakened teacher, Maharishi Sadashiva, we'll go with that. He said one time, there's not one single hair out of place in the universe. And I've leaned on that quote many, many times because for me, anytime I'm wanting life to be different than what it is, I'm looking and saying, wait a minute. This is exactly, there's something that I'm not happy with about this situation, which tells me there's something within me that is not at peace. There's something within me that is not connected and aligned with the truth of who I am. And it has to be that way. If you look at it, it has to be that way, because if it weren't that way, then how could God or Jesus or Buddha or any of the great teachers, how could they be at peace? How could they love the world if they were in judgment about the situation, saying, no, that's not right? It doesn't mean we can't make changes, but when change comes, you get yourself back into that place of peace and love within your heart and compassion and forgiveness. And then you see what kind of action arises out of you. And it will not be one of vengeance. It will be one of peace and joy and flowing with God. That's how we flow with God, is that we don't fight or resist anything that's going on. We acknowledge it. And you know what? It also doesn't mean that you don't have anger or frustrations or maybe even hatred that comes up. Because that's what the mind does. The mind says, this is wrong, and I need it to be different, and this is what experience and feeling that I'm having right now because of that. That's perfect. Can you just be with that? Can you just be with that pain? Can you be with that frustration? Can you be with that part of you that says, no, I don't want to forgive them. I'm not happy with them. Can you notice that and be present with it? I find myself more and more every day just feeling so grateful. Feeling so grateful. The less I fight with life, the less I fight with God. The less I try to struggle and make things different than what they are, it just keeps opening my heart more and more. That in my teacher Muji has said that he's like, let go of your entitlement that you need, I deserve this, I've earned this. Let go of all of that. Let go of your need to fix or change any of it. Can you do that? It's not a small task I'm asking. I understand that. Sadashiva said something else to me that I lean on this quote quite often also. And he said, the path of the sage is ruthless. There simply are no boundaries. Now, everybody's at different levels. We come to a unity church. Most people are much more conscious and aware. But there's some people in the world that they're just learning how powerful a boundary is. When they've been getting abused maybe for years, they say, this is not okay with me. And that's perfect. And then they begin to set boundaries in their lives and take care of themselves. And then we get to the point where we begin to say, I don't feel like I have to suffer all the time. There's got to be something more than this. And then we begin to open that door to the infinite possibilities of who we are. And in that opening of that door, we begin to look at, do I need to set boundaries? And I'm not trying to convince you of anything I say. I'm not trying to convince you or persuade you of anything. You sort through with what feels right in your heart and take on. But for me, this is what I did. When I heard my teacher say that the path of the sage is ruthless, there simply are no boundaries. Well, not when I first heard it. It actually did take several years after that. And I said, you know what, God, I'm letting down all my walls of protection, and I feel very vulnerable. But I'm giving my life entirely over to you, God, not just giving it over the way my mind thinks it should. No, I want you to have everything. I want you to have my life is in your hands. I want you to have my son, my daughter, all my loved ones. All of it is in your hands. And what happened for me at first, I end up thinking, oh gosh, what if I end up having an arm severed or get in a car accident or something happens to my wife or son? That's where my mind went with it. It's scary. It's vulnerable. But then there comes that point in time, the more you explore with that and you trust that everything is in divine order, there's not one single hair out of place, then you begin to see God is on your side. Everything God is giving you is here to awaken you to the truth of who you are. You can either fight against that or you can flow with it. Something else I want to say about flow. Every moment presents itself. You can either accept it or you can reject it. If you accept it, you can be part of the flow with God. If you can reject it, you'll be the part of flow with the struggle, with the stress, and with the suffering. It's as simple as that. Each moment presents itself. It's presented itself. Why would I want to fight against it? But my mind does. My mind wants to change all of it, you know. Yeah, my mind, well, I don't want this war to be going on. I don't want this. And that's a fair statement. I'm a little concerned that I've bit off more than I can chew on this, because I'm sure there's, a wide variety of how people think or feel. I guess what I'm hoping to convey to you, and again, I'm not trying to, persuade you or convince you of anything, but the more I see that it is all perfect, I use all of it as a springboard for awakening to the truth of who I am. And you may know the teacher. I'm sure some of you have seen the teacher, Sadhguru. He literally has millions of followers throughout the world. He's from India. He lives in the United States. He has spoken at the United Nations on peace. He's probably the most well-known awakened teacher on this planet. And his comment was about COVID. He said, had I known how much good it would do, I would have brought it here a long time ago. And we get caught in everything that our mind is saying, this is what I don't like, and this is what I don't want, why I don't want it to be different. But the truth is, it has challenged most or all of us in some way to play a bigger game. And we can either accept that or reject it. The choice is up to each of us. The last thing I think I want to say about flowing with God is taking 100% responsibility for your life. And the reason this is so important, because if we don't, and my boss does this all the time, he says, oh, I'm so tired of your excuses, He doesn't say that to me. Actually, he leaves me alone, because he just does, because we've had words, and I don't have anything to lose. If he wants to fire me, I'm fine with that. I know God will show me the next step. But he's always complaining about everybody making excuses and not taking responsibility. But he does it all the time himself, right? He's doing the same thing. He's like blaming others because they're blaming others, and he can't see that. But what I know is, if I don't take 100% responsibility for my life, I am going to make someone or something else the problem, and I have just cut myself off from healing. Let me say that again. If I make someone else or something else the problem, I have just stopped the healing process, because now it's about them. And not only is it about them, we are now at their mercy. When they change, then I'll be happy. And we wait for so many things in life to be happy, right? When I get enough money, when I change my eating habits, when I get healthier, when I get the right job, when I get the right relationship, then I'll be fine. That's all about the future. I'm inviting you right now, right here, right now, right this moment. I'm inviting you to open your heart. I'm inviting you to give all your troubles over to God. And I'm inviting you, even if you feel called, to give your entire life over to God and just say, you know what, I don't want to struggle anymore. I sound a little bit maybe like a Baptist minister, and give your life over or something, but I can only speak from the truth of where I'm at in my life. And that is the power when you fully give your life over without any boundaries, without any protection, and you just say, Father, it's in your hands. I ask nothing of you, and I put my full trust and faith that you will give me exactly what I need, exactly when I need it. You know, I find myself, when I'm speaking in front of people, there's that part of me that says, I just want everybody to just be at peace, to be in joy, to be in love, and to just love life, you know, and it's just different for everybody. I have to be a witness to that as well, because some people are not ready for that. My mom is in assisted living right now, and I call her almost every day, and my wife and I have talked about bringing her into our house. It's not realistic because she needs so much help. She needs 24/7 care. But I'm calling her up, and I'm like, I've learned to stop asking this question, but I asked this question too many times. How are you doing? Oh, I shouldn't ask that question. And so, any case, she's like, oh, these damn people here, you know, and she's just crotchety and irritated, and she's in this situation that she feels she is powerless. And the preacher in me, the life coach in me wants to just tell her all these things to help shift her out of this, and you need to have a better attitude, and you need to do this and that. No, I can't do that, because it's not about me fixing or changing her. It is about me loving and accepting her exactly where she's at. And that is my lesson. So my mind says, I don't like this, and God's giving me this until I change within. And I don't want to wait for her to change. I want to change that within myself. So whatever you have going on with your life, whatever struggles, whatever challenges, I'm inviting you to notice if you have thoughts and feelings like, yeah, I don't like this, I'm not happy with it. But know that you're not the one saying that, because if you were the one saying that, who is the one that is able to notice those thoughts? And that's what Eckhart Tolle refers to as awakening. He describes it as when the consciousness of who you are and the mind separate. In other words, your conscious awareness is aware of your thoughts, your feelings, your perceptions, your senses, your experiences, as a witness to those, as a witness to your breath, as a witness to my voice, as a witness to what's around you, as a witness to your body. The more you can realize that you are the witness to all of it, there's no better way to flow with God than that. Thank you so much.